Hello everyone, I'm NTom64.
And I'm XGamerRichy.
And welcome to the HellfireComms Ghiblithon. We've had the Disneython, now we're going to try something a little bit different. This is a pet project for Richie and myself. We're going to cover all of the movies in the Ghibli collection, from Nausicaä and the Valley of the Wind to, I think the most recent one is When Marnie Was Here. Am I right in saying that?
Pretty close. It's when Marnie was there.
Ah, okay. I was off by one word. So yeah, this functions pretty much the same as the Disneython. You know, we provide the audio commentary. You guys provide, the video counterpart. We'll give you, as much info as we can without effing ourselves in the A, copyright-wise. But if you need help, just check the video description. And yeah, there you go. Today, we're going to kick things off with Nausicaä and the Valley of the Wind. Often thought to be the very first Studio Ghibli film, actually done before they were founded. But just so we're not here all day, let's call it the first Ghibli film. Yes.
It's of the Valley of the Wind.
Well, I've started, so we'll finish. What a great start to the Ghiblithon. Alright guys, everything you'll need is in the video description, so here we go. In 3, 2, 1. I do love Nausicaä and of the Valley of the Wind. Oh man, we're already starting strong. Did you see back there? Not WWE, WWF.
Well, of course, it's only fitting.
Mm-hmm.
And, Nausicaä's an interesting one in the Ghibli collection. And that is mostly just because it is the first film that is classified as being part of that collection. Because, obviously, Hayao Miyazaki is, the godfather of, or grandfather, really, of Japanese anime.
Yeah, he's getting on.
He is a god among Japanese animation. And even though this isn't his first directorial projects, and that was actually Lupin the Third, the film.
Okay.
It's still... Basically, this is the one that led into Studio Ghibli, and that is why it is considered part of the Ghibli collection, and actually is released as part of the Studio Ghibli collection range.
I got you.
Yeah, I've actually got everything in the Studio Ghibli collection, which makes me so happy.
Well, just to read off what we're actually covering, we've got Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind, we have Laputa, Castle in the Sky, Grave of the Fireflies, My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Only Yesterday, Porco Rosso, Ocean Waves, Pompoko, Whisper of the Heart, Princess Mononoke, My Neighbors the Yamadas, Spirit of the Way, fuck yes, The Cat Returns, Howl's Moving Castle, Tales from Earthsea, Ponyo, Arrietty, From Up on Poppy Hill, The Wind Rises, The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which I'm very familiar with now thanks to the Okami playthrough, and When Marnie Was There. You'll get one movie commentary every day until basically New Year's Eve. Very Leighton-esque start so far, just in terms of music usage and whatnot.
Yes, I mean, I have to say, this is going to sound really bad, but Nausicaä is actually one of the Ghibli films that I don't really have that many memories of.
Huh.
There are a few which I absolutely adore, and I know them pretty damn well.
Yeah.
But Nausicaa's one of those ones that just sort of fell a little bit through the cracks. And I don't really know why, because from what I remember, it is a really good film.
I mean, just look at what we're seeing on screen right now. It's striking.
Oh, God, yeah. And I mean, it's got a really cool premise as well, because it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, telling the story of a young princess who becomes embroiled with a kingdom that tries to use an ancient weapon to cause havoc. And, already that's actually quite, I want to say progressive in a way, because obviously there's so many things in recent years anyway that said you can't have a female lead in a movie. And yet here we are in 1984 with a female lead in a feature film that's animated.
That's, Western philosophy
Yeah.
versus like friggin' Eastern, I suppose. But I actually have never seen Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind. I haven't seen most of the Ghibli films, bar Spirited Away, which is kind of Babby's first anime movie, let's be fair. Great movie, very, very mainstream. That's not a bad thing, I'm just saying it how it is. I also saw Porco Rosso on a whim, because a mate lent it to me, so those two I have some familiarity with. A bit of The Cat Returns as well, but for the most part, I'm going in blind. Everything you're hearing is my first reaction to the film, and I'm looking forward to this, actually. I very rarely go into movies without having watched them beforehand, so if my commentary is a bit more reactionary than usual, I apologise. But let's just watch some movies together, and have a nice Christmas season.
Although, Tom, a nice Christmas season, you seem to forget that we're going to be watching Grave of the Fireflies soon, and basically that's...
I know
you start the film,
what
you
Grave
start
of the Fireflies
crying,
is, okay.
you don't stop crying until the end of the film. It's one of those, it's... Like, I know we're not at Grave of the Fireflies yet, but I just want to say that, like, Studio Ghibli does a phenomenal job quite a lot of the time of developing an emotional connection between the film and its audience, and Grave of the Fireflies in particular is so good at that, and it's easily one of the most difficult films I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Well, less of that for now. We'll cover it when we get to it. Can we have a bit of voice acting trivia, please? I'm assuming this is Nausicaä, so who voices it?
So, Nausicaä is voiced by Alison Lohman, who doesn't sound familiar to me either. And actually looking at the films that she's done, it's not really causing much to click in my head still, but basically what Wikipedia says are her sort of most famous roles are as Astrid in White Oleander. She, her most notable Brown role was as Christine Brown in Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell in 2009. And she's also been on TV in shows such as Tucker and Pasadena. But really, that's about it. So she's not really done all that much. But I think she does a pretty damn good job here. And that is perfectly good. The thing that makes me more excited about this is that there are a few more famous members of this cast, actually, that I'm looking at and thinking, oh my god, they did well here. Because they've got Patrick Stewart.
Wow.
Shia LaBeouf. Uma Thurman. Tress MacNeille. James Arnold Taylor. Frank Welker. Mark Hamill. Jodie Benson, and many others. So Dee Bradley Baker's another one, and they also got Tony Jay in as the narrator.
I'm sad now.
Like, I'm looking at this and thinking, bloody hell, they did a very good job with getting that English cast together.
Was this before Disney started dubbing the films?
So I'm pretty sure that it was definitely before. Oh, no, actually. So, on October the 18th, 2003, Cindy and Donald Hewitt, who were the scriptwriters of Disney's English dubs of Spirited Away and Porco Rosso, announced that they would release an unedited and redubbed version of Nausicaä. Because I think there was initially a dub of it, but I think it had been cut and mangled. So Disney kind of came in and took over and did it the way that they had done for Spirited Away and Porco Rosso.
And obviously that's the version we're watching here.
Yes, I mean, pretty much. Well, actually, I think all of the Ghibli films that we are watching will be done with the English dub, which is pretty much always done by Disney.
Fair enough.
Once you get to actually later on in the Ghibli collection, mostly thinking of Arrietty here, you do start to get potentially a little bit of divergence with the dubs, because I know that Arietti had a dub done by Studio Canal, who distribute it in the UK. So they have different voices to the American version, but we will be watching the American version because that's all that we could get.
Okay.
Something that I've just seen here, which is actually fascinating and makes actually a lot more sense. Natalie Portman was originally going to voice Nausica, but obviously they couldn't get her, or she wasn't available, so that's why Alison Lohman was eventually assigned to the role.
I can sort of hear her in the role, but from what I've been able to glimpse underneath you talking over the bloody thing, the actress they got for Nausica is pretty good so far.
Pretty much every Ghibli dub out there pretty much all the dubs are excellent. Like, Disney knew what they were doing when they were directing these, because they get just the right tone, and the performances are all just really, really bloody good.
So let's go to the story now. Is this essentially where insects have conquered the Earth or something similar? Because they seem to be in a bit of a tizzy right now.
Yes, so, quoting from Wikipedia here, 1,000 years have passed since the 7 Days of Fire, an apocalyptic war that destroyed civilization and created the vast toxic jungle, a poisonous forest swarming with giant mutant insects. In the kingdom of the Valley of the Wind, a prophecy predicts a saviour clothed in blue robes, descending onto a golden field to join bonds with the great earth and guide the people to the Pure Lands at last.
I wonder who that could be.
Yeah. And so, Nausica, the princess of the Valley of the Wind, explores the jungle and communicates with its creatures in the hopes of understanding the jungle and finding a way for it and humans to coexist. Because obviously you've got these giant mutant insects that I have to say very much remind me of... is it Stormship Troopers? Never watched it, but...
I know what you're talking about. It's just like... Oh god, the name of the movie's escaped me as well.
Yeah, it is Stormship Troopers. Oh no, it's Starship Troopers.
There you
That's
go,
it.
Richie.
That's
being as wrong as me, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I had to, whenever I think of Starship Troopers, my brain goes to Starship, which is the Star Kids musical that sort of takes inspiration from Starship Troopers and The Little Mermaid.
What are you babbling on about, Richie?
It's a parody musical by the people who did a Harry Potter musical. It's amazing. I love it.
It always goes back to musicals.
Of course it does, Tom. I used to work in a theatre.
Is that Patrick Stewart?
I believe that is indeed Patrick Stewart.
Get a bit of a Dragon Ball vibe from all this.
Yeah, I get yeah. Let me just double check something, because I know that obviously there's this period of anime and manga that's... ooh, this is interesting. So Nausicaä came out before Dragon Ball.
But was that the manga or the movie?
The manga.
Well there you go.
And the movie.
Oh!
So, the manga ran from 1982 to 1984, and because it did so well initially, that's why the film adaptation eventually went into production. I think what effectively happened was that after Hayao Miyazaki's directorial debut with The Castle of Cagliostro, which is part of the Lupin III franchise, it got critical acclaim but didn't really do gangbusters at the box office.
One of those films, yeah.
Yeah, so after that, while people had been impressed by his work. Most of his film ideas were rejected. But then Takuma Shoten, who was, I think, Animage's publisher, so it's Animage being a magazine, he asked Miyazaki to do a manga, which led to the creation of Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind. So he began writing it and drawing it, and it became Animage's most popular feature.
Nice.
Basically then, Hideo Ogata and Yasuyoshi Takuma, the founders of Animage and Takuma Shoten respectively, encouraged him to work on a film adaptation. Miyazaki initially refused, but eventually agreed on the condition that he could direct it. Initially, I think it was only going to be a 15-minute animation. Miyazaki was just like, no.
Yeah, he'd be like, a bridge cuts are a mistake.
Yeah. But then he said, I'll do it if you let me do a 60-minute film. And then I think they thought, well, actually, you know what? We'll do you one better. We'll give you a feature-length film.
There you go.
I think because they'd seen that it had done so well as a manga, they thought, well, actually, this could do ridiculously well at the box office. And I'm pretty sure that it did do very well, because it's widely acclaimed for many reasons, and apparently actually it's frequently ranked as one of the greatest animated films of all time. I'm not sure whether I would totally agree with that, but still, it was made on a budget of 1.08 billion yen, and made back at the box office 1.48 billion yen, and that's gross, and then 742 million yen in rentals.
Yen kind of confuses me when it comes to the conversion, right? So
don't worry, it confuses me too.
I mean, I'm impressed visually so far. The voice acting seems pretty cool. The setting's great. I love how it's all like desert juxtaposed against like lush floral stuff and whatnot. And the bugs are an interesting take. You don't really see that often in movies and whatnot. In fact, the only thing that I can think of cartoon-wise was there was a bug similar in a Ben 10 episode. I don't know if you ever watched it. Do you ever watch Ben 10 on Cartoon Network?
I think I watched maybe one or two episodes, but I was slightly out of Cartoon Network, I think, when that was airing.
Fair enough. But I'm blathering, but you guys probably have already gleaned what I'm trying to get at here. There was a giant Nausicaä-looking bug that landed on Earth and started to suck up the life force, and I don't know, it just always put me in mind of this. And speaking of, like, other references, wasn't there a village in Layton 6 that kind of looked like this?
I believe so, yes. Honestly, it would not surprise me if it was in some form of reference to Nausicaä. Because obviously, by coming out in 1984, this is actually a pretty damn important film in terms of anime filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously it started Miyazaki's filmmaking career, effectively, and he's then gone on to inspire so many other artists to do anime.
I have to say, I like royalty that is also proactive. I like royalty that is out amongst the people, who tries to enrich the lives of their, well, it's not constituents, but citizens? No, that's not it either. People, I suppose. Yeah, instead of just sitting on their throne and allowing others to do the work. Now, Nausicaa's getting in there, getting her hands dirty, going to collect spores and whatnot, whatever the fuck she was doing back there, fixing windmills.
Yeah.
I'm playing guess the voice actor at this point in time. Patrick Stewart sticks out like a sore thumb, God bless him.
That's because it's Patrick bloody Stewart. Like, you physically can't not recognise him. Largely also because the whole reason that they would have hired him is to be Patrick Stewart.
Do you think Team Eco got a bit of their inspiration from the Ghibli films?
Perhaps, yes. I mean, obviously, the whole thing with me, I'm going to get a little bit analytical here, and maybe
Well, as long as you get to the point quickly, I don't care.
In the modern world, we don't live in a bubble, so every piece of art or literature or what have you is going to be influenced by the things around it. So whether Team Eco were explicitly influenced by Nausicaä, the Valley of the Wind, or whether they were influenced by the same things that influenced Nausicaä or the things that Nausicaä influenced, there is probably something that will lead you back to Nausicaä. Because that's just the type of world that we live in right now. Like, almost everything is a reference to everything, because that's just how it works. So yes, Obaba here is voiced by Tress MacNeille.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can hear Mom from Futurama. Jam a bastard and hit you, crap! And obviously, Barber, very typical word for like old woman and whatnot. And
yes.
You've got Barber, the fortune teller from Dragon Ball. That's about it. Sorry, don't have a list prepared for you right now.
Well, I think, bear with me a few seconds.
Popular use of Barber in anime and manga, maybe.
Well, no, what I was looking for was, Yubaba in Spirited Away.
Oh, of course.
Because, although that's using Barber in a different sense, because that's using it as witch, basically. But it's one of those things where a word can mean one thing, but also another thing. So, like, the word wench, in Middle English.
Oh god, here we go. Here's the language portion of the commentary.
It was going to turn up eventually. So, wench just means woman, basically.
Okay.
But over time, it has gone on to become much more associated with, like, a sort of tavern woman or a bit of a prostitute type deal. Even though it does just mean woman, it does also mean that at the same time. So, obviously, Barber is, like, old woman, but also hag or witch, all that sort of thing.
Oh, here's the wind we were promised.
Well, of course you're gonna get the wind. It's the Valley of the Wind.
Imagine, like, moving to the Valley of the Wind. Oh, I didn't expect this at all. I thought it was going to be sunny all year round.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like, just be completely ridiculous.
I'm here. Nice bit of tension here.
I know, it's the darkness that does it.
Oh. Nausicaä to the rescue!
She's always going to go to the rescue, because that's just the type of hero she is.
The Dragon Ball thing I was referencing was just basically like Bulma with all her inventions and whatnot.
Yeah, I totally get that. And also because of the whole blue aesthetic, which Bulma tends to go for, at least she did in early-ish Dragon Ball, if I recall correctly.
Well, her original hair colour was like lavender/purple, and oh, look at that, the bugs are at it. again. I don't think the bugs are inherently evil, I'm just going to say that now. I may be remembering a little bit from the Nostalgia Critics Disney-thon where he covered the Ghibli films. That partially inspired the Ghibli-thon, because, you know, the Disney-thon based on the Nostalgia Critics Disney Samba, but this is something Richie and I have wanted to do ourselves for a while, so while it is going to mostly be a him and I sort of thing, in one or two of the movies there will be a guest commentator. Not many, maybe just one or two, and oh my god!
Well, that's what happens when you've got a massive mechanical ship that's just going to ram into things because they can't be bothered to turn the frickin' thing.
Well, their wing was like being eaten by fucking centipedes and whatnot.
I don't care, they should have bloody turned.
Oh, Rich. Oh, no.
Yeah. Let's just say Ghibli films can get frickin' dark.
Yeah, very grisly.
Sometimes you will not be expecting it, and then all of a sudden, boom! Like, super dark. Other times you see it coming.
Oh, she was a prisoner.
Yeah.
The plot doth thicken. Also, the prettiest one makes it out with only a few scuffs. What did she see? Is that a different kingdom?
So this is Listel, who I know basically nothing about, because, as I said, I've not watched this film in frickin' forever. But she's voiced by Emily Bauer.
That name rings a bell, but I can't place her in any roles at all.
Oh, she's the voice of Dawn in Pokemon.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That's why. And also Officer Jenny and Cynthia and others from 2007 to 2017. She has done a few other voices, but I'd say that's probably the most recognised.
They're getting fleshier and fleshier as the movie goes on, it seems.
Well, they're insects. They're going to act weirdly. I mean, I have to say there's a lot of other... there's a lot of influences for Nausicaä. Because, so the Wikipedia page mentions Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea series, which we'll talk more about when we deal with Tales of Earthsea, or is it Tales from Earthsea?
Ah, now who's getting words wrong?
Well, you see, that's because that's, it's Tales from Earthsea.
Yeah, that's what I fucking thought.
That's because it's a film that's arguably one of the least liked in the Ghibli canon.
Yeah, I've heard tales.
I actually recall quite enjoying it, but I totally understand why people didn't like it, for reasons we'll discuss when, we actually do that film.
Mm-hmm.
You also have Brian Aldiss's Hot House series, Isaac Asimov's Nightfall series, Isaac Asimov being, the grandfather of science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing, and I love him and his work. The Foundation's Edge, the Foundation series and the Robot series, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Was it he who penned the 3 Laws of Robotics?
It was he indeed.
Okay.
Miyazaki was also influenced by J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series.
Yeah, I can see it.
So there's someone called Danny Cavallaro who suggests that there's inspiration for Nausicaä from The Princess Who Loved Insects folktale, which I think I will certainly have a look into shortly. We're going to be here for a while, so we've certainly got the time to do so. And also the works of William Golding. William Golding being most famous for writing Lord of the Flies. But he did also write Rites of Passage and a sea trilogy, which began with the book To the Ends of the Earth, which is probably mostly where that influence came from.
Richie, question.
Yes?
Is Lord of the Flies actually about a load of flies and their lord?
No.
I didn't think so, no.
So Lord of the Flies is about a bunch of boys that get shipwrecked on an island and what happens after that. It was written as a kind of retort to R.M. Ballantyne's The Coral Island, which I'm actually just about to start reading at some point soon, which suggested that boys on an island would be able to create their own little civilization and everything would go smoothly until they were rescued. Golding was just like, you don't know kids, mate, because Lord of the Flies, basically, they go for each other, and it's pretty violent, and there's death and destruction, and the reason it's called Lord of the Flies is because there's a pig that gets killed, and then somebody puts its head on a stick, and then I think one of the kids runs into it, and it's covered with flies, and in his mind, that basically is like Beelzebub, who is the Lord of the Flies. And so that's where that comes from, and it's to do with just the chaos that would occur if kids were abandoned on a desert island with no adults whatsoever. There's also apparently the fact that here mentioned that Nausicaä, the character, was inspired in name and personality by Homer's Phaeacian princess in the Odyssey.
For a split second there, I thought you meant Homer Simpson.
No, definitely not. So the Odyssey, for those of you who don't know, is one of the major ancient Greek poems attributed to Homer, and it is effectively a sequel to the Iliad. So the Iliad tells the story of the Trojan War. The Odyssey tells the story of Odysseus' journey back from the Trojan War, and gets into all sorts of trouble. There's also a connection to Frank Herbert's Dune, which is another kind of classic story, and the reason that that's often made, even though there's no confirmation to it, other than the name Omu, which is effectively a syllabic rendition of the English worm, and that is used in Nausicaä, and so that's why people make the connection, and I think also because you have the kind of big insect-like creatures, I think, are also a bit of a similarity, but there's no confirmation there at all.
Man, Ghibli, they really love their, aircraft or vehicle porn, don't they? God bless them.
They do, and it is awesome. And actually, you can kind of tell why they like their aircraft, and that's because just wait until you see The Wind Rises, because that's basically an entire film about the creation of planes.
Wow.
That's not the main point of the plot. The main point of the plot is a love story, but the creation of planes is kind of part of... Well, it is one of the main character's jobs, and it forms a huge part of what he does.
He's just waiting. He's ready to fuck some bitches up. Time for Nausicaä to fuck some bitches up too. Jesus.
I'd say these guys are pretty useless.
Well, maybe Nausicaa's just that good. This animation is so fluid, mate.
It's Studio Ghibli, what did you expect?
Don't give me that. I can give credit where credit's due, okay? I love the design of the knight's armor, by the way. I'm assuming, obviously, since we don't have subtitles on this and we're talking over stuff, Patrick Stewart to the rescue, by the way. That's, they're from a neighbouring kingdom.
Yes, I believe that these are the Tolmekians.
Okay. We should really try to search out subtitle files for future films, but we do have, like, the Wikipedia synopsis on standby, just to refresh us.
Yes, and I like how Nausicaä just stabbed Lord Yupa in the hand, and he's now bleeding like there is no tomorrow.
Listen to Patrick Stewart. Oh, that is not the voice I expected to come out of that character.
That is Uma Thurman, that is.
Yeah, kind of guessed, yeah.
Yes, so that's Kushana. Kurotoa, who's the bit of an asshole over there, is voiced by Chris Sarandon, who is actually a pretty famous name, and one that you should probably recognise, because he's Prince Humperdinck in The Princess Bride. He's the voice of Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Not the singing voice, though.
Not the singing voice, because that is obviously Danny Elfman. He's the speaking voice. And he's done various other things as well. And also, he's married to Susan Sarandon.
I thought that name sounded familiar, the surname.
Yes. So, he's pretty awesome. And then obviously Uma Thurman's been in, like, so much.
Yeah, she was in, like, this one fairly popular, like, duology of films. I think that's the title for a couple of films. Like, it was like, what, Eradicate William or something similar?
Yeah, I could have sworn that it was Murder Boris.
Swinging a miss, mate. Swinging a miss.
Yeah, obviously it's Kill Bill. But she was also in Pulp Fiction, and she's been in many, many, many things, and she's pretty awesome and pretty badass.
Sounds pretty good to me.
But, you see, the whole thing that Ghibli goes for very often, because there's a lot of recurring themes, one of which is nature is hugely important and arguably more important than mechanization.
Ah, yeah, that old chestnut.
You've got anti-war and the environment. Those two are, like, you will see it constantly throughout the Ghibli collection. It's something that they return to time and time again, and I think it's because they see it as being so important. I mean, so Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind was released with a recommendation from the Worldwide Fund for Nature, which is what obviously appeared right at the start of the film. It was that WWF logo. And so Hayao Miyazaki has been pretty outspoken over the years with regards to being anti-war, because he, in 2013, he criticised Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's policies and the proposed constitutional amendment that would allow Abe to revise the clause which outlaws war as a means to settle international disputes. Basically, just like, don't go to war, you dick. And apologise for the wars that we had in the past, because the military has been pretty aggressive. You also have the fact that he refused to attend the 75th Academy Awards in 2003 in protest of the United States' involvement in the Iraq War, stating that he didn't want to visit a country that was bombing Iraq.
Fair enough, but, you know, they're a bunch of pomp and circumstance anyway, so...
Thankfully, that's something that he didn't publicly express until 2009, when he eventually lifted that boycott and attended the San Diego Comic-Con International event as a favour to his friend John Lasseter.
Oh, there's a name I recognise.
Yes. So yes, basically, Miyazaki's got some very strong views, and he sticks by them, which is something I can certainly appreciate.
Yeah, I can respect a man with a backbone who, sticks by his morals and whatnot, but one should never be unflinching. You should always be learning, taking in new information, be open to new perspectives.
Definitely, but to be fair, being anti-war and being for the environment are not bad positions to have.
No, that's a pretty good starting point, honestly.
If only more people in the world followed that line of thinking.
Well, we're not here to do one of those types of commentaries, Richie, so let's try and not lay it on so thick in the next film, shall we? If Ghibli can be subtle, so can we.
This is true, but we are eventually, obviously, going to be reaching Grave of the Fireflies, at which point there's only so much we can do without getting quite political and quite heavy.
Don't like the sound of hostages.
No, yeah, they're pretty in trouble at the minute, because Princess Kishana has taken over and is basically trying to mature something called the Giant Warrior and use it to burn the toxic jungle.
Okay. Thank you, Synopsi.
Yes. Now, since we are continuing our journey through this, I mentioned the princess who loved insects, or something to that effect earlier, and I feel might as well discuss it now. So it's a 12th century Japanese tale, the Japanese being Mushi Mizuru Himegimi, which transliterates to the lady who loved insects rather than the princess, and basically it's a tale of one who defies social convention and breaches the decorum expected of a Heian court lady. And it's one of 10 short stories in the collection Tsutsumi Chunagon Monogatari.
Oh, it's like we're doing Okami all over again.
I know. So, the protagonist befriends insects, names her attendants after them, and engages in poetic exchanges involving fairy caterpillars,
Hang on. This is what Agatha and Twilight Princess was based on, wasn't it?
Yes, actually, that probably is right. Because she's portrayed as even more eccentric. What's portrayed as even more eccentric is her disregard for her physical appearance. Maybe not necessarily like Agatha, but still. Because she leaves her hair untrimmed, her eyebrows unplucked, she neglects to blacken her teeth, and allows herself to be seen by men, which is basically, in that period, that is what was seen as being beautiful, and that's what was expected of a lady. And so there's this quote of, "Oh, how regrettable, why does she have such a weird mind?" Which makes me think of, she really is a funny girl, that Belle. But basically, when an incipient love affair comes to an end, along with the tale, it's of little surprise to any of the observers, because obviously she doesn't act like a lady, and therefore she's going to get down and dirty. I suppose there's maybe a little bit of that with Nausicaä, in the sense of she wants to protect both humanity and the insects, even though the insects are obviously relatively dangerous. But also she doesn't care how she looks, she just wants to be in on the action and to do good by her people. So obviously it moves away from that point of that story, but you can see a little bit of the influence.
Very interesting to hear, like, the hero of the story actually struggle with killing. It's a very moralistic path to take.
I mean, I think it's because another thing that Ghibli does so well is it makes death have an impact.
Makes it poignant, yeah.
Yeah, like whenever a character dies in a Ghibli film, it's very important, and generally it does leave a little bit of a scar in your heart. Because it's generally a character that you get somewhat attached to, and then they're just sort of ripped from you, and you're just like, no, you monster. And I think because it does that so effectively, it's why a lot of the characters espouse that sort of dislike for killing, because death's the end. And you don't want to rush people towards that if you can help it.
Her little cat rabbit thingy reminds me a bit of Ratchet, just in terms of his coloration.
Yes, he does very much have a Lombax-esque thing about him. And I believe that he's called Tato or Tito. I'm not quite sure, but it looks like that's the case because it's the only character voiced by a Japanese person in both the Japanese and English dubs, therefore they didn't change it, and therefore it's likely cat rabbit thing. So Tito is voiced by Ryuhiko Yoshida.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to say, yeah, you're going to recognise her from these things. Oh, this is actually quite cool. In terms of Japanese dubbing, she voiced Agatha Trunchbull in the Japanese dub of Matilda.
Huh.
That's awesome.
I kind of like how these aren't like super fancy airships. They're very rustic, sort of, which makes sense for a post-apocalyptic setting.
Definitely, and I think that the thing that works quite well with these is that because they look the way they do, they sort of look almost like the insects that the Tolmekians are so sort of scared and annoyed by.
And you know that's deliberate.
Yeah, it's just like they're as bad as each other, you know? And also, I have a feeling that we might be about to meet Shia LaBeouf.
Really? What gave that away? Just got worse. Very rad design for this dude's airship.
I know, it is pretty cool.
Not a single one of them hit him.
Well, that's because they clearly have stormtrooper aim.
Well, either that or Shia has like... He has the Autobots scrambling their targeting systems or some shit.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Shia's not even part of the Transformers franchise anymore, is he?
No, he left after... Oh, I don't even know what blooming film it was.
Who gives a shit, really?
All that I know is that I think in the present timeline, wherever the hell they are, he's dead. Because I think in the most recent film or something, there was something to do with the last of the Witwicky line, which means because he was Sam Witwicky, and if this person was the last of the Witwicky line, then he's dead.
Yeah, well, kind of... That's the thing with advancing stories. Characters you know are gonna die at some point. If they're not immortal, they have a finite lifespan.
Indeed.
The fuck happened there? It's gonna be such a disappointment when this sheer badass opens his mouth and Shia LaBeouf's voice comes out.
To be fair, this was during the time when he was okay.
I mean, I don't know if I could say he's fine. Oh my god, that fire animation. Good lord. He's fine nowadays, he's just a bit cuckoo crazy in the insane brain.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, back in 2005, he was pretty normal in the grand scheme of things. He hadn't gone off the deep end. Because it was still part of his kind of Disney career, so to speak.
Ah, yeah, he was in Even Stevens, I believe.
Yes, he was, and obviously he was also in Howls, which is an amazing adaptation.
His sister in Even Stevens, I forget her name, but she voiced Kim Possible in the show of the same name.
Yes, I believe that's Christy Carlson Romano.
There you go, she sang the song in the second movie.
I'm pretty sure she sang the original theme song as well.
No, she didn't. That was Christina Milano, I think?
Are you sure?
Yeah, Kim Possible did not sing the theme song of her own show, you dip.
Oh no, it's Christina Milian.
Well, again, I was close. It's like of and the. Is this dub music? This seems a little bit out of place. It's good, but it seems a bit random.
No, I think this is the original music, because basically, so I mentioned that there was an original English dub of Nausica, and so that was called Warriors of the Wind, and it was released by New World Pictures. It was a 95-minute English dubbed adaptation of the film, released theatrically in the US in 1985. So the voice actors and actresses were not informed of the film's plotline, and the film was heavily edited to market it as a children's action-adventure film. Consequently, part of the film's narrative meaning was lost, some of the environmentalist themes were diluted, as was the main subplot of the insects, just to turn them into aggressive enemies rather than, having a bit more to them than that. And also most of the characters' names were changed, including Nausica, who became Princess Xandra.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that.
No. The US cover for the VHS release also featured a mass of male characters who don't exist in the film, riding a certain creature that we have yet to meet yet. And basically 22 minutes of the film scenes were cut for the film's North American release. And basically Miyazaki was just like, that's not okay, I'm not happy with that. So he basically adopted a strict no edits clause for further foreign releases of Studio Ghibli's films.
'Cause, I mean, it's one thing to have slight edits here and there, but to have your beloved work butchered and bastardized like that, no son, I'm not having that.
Yeah. There's a little bit here to do with Princess Mononoke. So I think he heard that Miramax co-chairman Harvey Weinstein was going to attempt to edit Princess Mononoke to make it more marketable.
Ooh.
And Toshio Suzuki, who I think was involved in some form, sent an authentic katana with a simple message: no cuts.
And if you do, prepare to Sudoku yourself.
Seppuku.
Fuck off, you know what I meant.
I know exactly what you meant, but Sudokuing yourself is very different from committing
Dude,
seppuku.
oh my god, how lame are you? Well, actually, I think I'm the lame one. No, you don't get memes, you must be lame.
So yeah, basically after that point, yeah, he was pretty staunch on, you do not cut my films. So they wouldn't have changed the music at all, and to be fair, why would you want to? Because it's done by Joe Hisaishi, who is like pretty much one of the most acclaimed Japanese musical composers and directors, and he's done so many films. So like over 100 film scores and solo albums dating back to 1981.
Wow, give us a few examples, mate.
So basically, he has done so much for Miyazaki. So he did the music for Nausicaä, Laputa Castle in the Sky, My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Porco Rosso, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, House Moving Castle, Ponyo, Wind Rises, Tale of Princess Kaguya. So that's all the like Miyazaki films. He also did the music for Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch, because obviously that was a Studio Ghibli and Level 5 co-production.
I really should get back to that at some point, but
yes, you should.
Beautiful game, lovely music. I found the gameplay a bit dull, but I was only about a couple of hours into it, and it's apparently like a 100-hour game, so...
Yeah, so that's probably something to return to at some point. So Joe Hisaishi is like... So he has composed scores for every single one of Miyazaki's films outside of the Castle of Cagliostro. So they are pretty much together through everything.
What's his discography, question mark, outside of Miyazaki, though?
So he's done music for filmmaker Beat Takeshi Kitano, including A Scene at the Sea, Sonatine, Kids Return, Hanabi, Kikujiro, and Dolls. I'm just gonna see any others. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff for anime as well, because he did the music for the Voltron movie, some of the Mobile Suit Gundam movies. I'm just trying to see. I mean, basically his discography is like ridiculously huge. And I think I would probably be here for a very, very, very long while if I were to try and say them all. But it's mostly Japanese stuff that he has done them for, and that's totally fair. But all of his scores are very... They've got a particular sound, but it's just such an amazing sound that really, I don't care.
Getting a kind of mind meld situation going on here.
Little bit, yes.
Oh my god, they're all little kids inside. That's a bit weird.
It's not quite that.
I'm going to assume that's little Nausicaä, like humming / singing there. Ooh, very pretty.
Basically, what's occurring here is that Nausicaä is beginning to understand exactly what these creatures do.
They're repollinating the planet.
It's not exactly repollinating the planet. Ultimately, it's more... They...
Is this a spoiler for the rest of the movie, before you say anything?
No.
Okay.
I mean, basically, the jungle plants don't create the toxic jungle. The whole purpose of it is to try and purify the polluted topsoil and produce clean water and soil underground. That's why we've got this lovely, beautiful, clear water.
I got you. But conversely, it's toxic to humans.
No, I think it's pretty fine.
So why do they need the masks then?
Because they still think it's toxic.
Ah, interesting. I think she'll be fine. She seems to have a good head on her shoulders, does Nausica?
Yes, and thank God she does. And also because, she's a super amazing princess, she has the ability to help people.
Getting very close to this guy losing all his cool factor. He did the woe thing back there. Oh yeah, I'm liking this music. Are you absolutely sure this wasn't a dub pick?
I'm pretty sure.
Because, the rest of the film was all, beautiful violins and whatnot, and here we've got some, 80s synth.
I'm pretty sure. I think because it's got a slightly more technological bent, does the film, they went with this slightly more technological sounding songs in certain moments. I think particularly when dealing with the ohm, which are these insects.
Okay.
So yeah, they're just gonna crash through right now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna chill down here. It was calculated. We meant to fuck up.
And they're just gonna find out more about what's going on here.
Okay.
But since we are here and we're learning more, one of the other things that influenced Nausicaä is actually a situation that occurred in Minamata Bay. So Minamata is a small factory town, and the bay is on the west coast of the Kyushu island, located in Kumamoto Prefecture, Japan. And it's part of the larger Shiranui Sea, and basically, in the 50s and 60s, it was heavily polluted by wastewater mixed with mercury dumped into the Hyakken harbour from the Chizo Corporation's factory in Minamata, particularly by methyl mercury. The highly toxic compound bioaccumulated in fish and shellfish in the bay, which, when eaten by the people living around the bay, gave rise to Minamata disease, and more than 10,000 people were affected. That whole poisoning had a very large impact on Japanese culture, because basically what Minamata disease caused was ataxia, numbness in the hands and feet, general muscle weakness, loss of peripheral vision, damage to hearing and speech, and in extreme cases insanity, paralysis, coma and death follow within weeks of the onset of symptoms. And also, a congenital form of the disease could affect fetuses in the womb. So it was, majorly disastrous.
Well, first of all, I'm loving the shading in this flashback sequence, and secondly, mercury poison ain't nothing to fuck with.
Yeah. And, on the whole thing to do with Minamata Bay, it mentions that Miyazaki used that event as an inspiration to create his epic manga and then later the film, Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind. Basically, according to Danny Cavallara's book, The Anime Art of Hayao Miyazaki, which is obviously where that previous quote came from, the Minamata Bay fish are unquestionably the real-life correlatives for the immensely and ingeniously adaptable fictitious plants portrayed in Miyazaki's films. And so, yes, it's quite important.
The grasping hands, subtle? Is that meant to be some capitalistic sting or something?
Oh, I don't bloomin' know.
But yeah, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, this animation.
There's moments where Ghibli films go for a slightly different style of animation, and in those moments it's just oh my god, this is stunning. There's one particular moment in The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which is just spectacular.
Well,
I mean, it's already a beautiful piece of animation, that film is, but there's one moment which is just the style changes and it just becomes this dreamlike sprawl, and it's just phenomenal.
Alright, where's Shia at? He must have carried us out here.
Probably, I'm not really sure, but we should probably start calling him by his actual name, which is Asbel.
Fine.
Just so that, you know, we're getting the characters all done correctly.
I don't want to worry any of you, but I've been having a real problem with like anime and whatnot recently, like memorizing characters' names. Like I can do JoJo from A to Z, but I've been watching a bit of My Hero Academia, and besides like Deku and Baku, I think I can't remember any of the characters' names besides like All Might.
Well, you see, I think it depends on the anime and how odd the names are, because like. So there's Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles, which is a manga series that I absolutely adore. Loved the anime as well, and just so gutted that they never actually managed to finish the damn thing off. But you've got Shaoran, Sakura, Fi, Kuragane. Those are your main characters. They're really the only people you need to care about. There's also Yuko and Mokuna. And then Watanuki, who was in Triple X Holic, which is the sister series. So I think those are relatively easy names to remember.
Yeah.
But then there are other anime where they go like full-on deep Japanese names, where you're just going... Because we are English, / we are from the Western culture, and we are pretty bad in the long run when it comes to languages, like, really bad. Largely because we expect everyone else to speak English, so we don't bother learning other languages.
Oh my god, we're not going down that fucking route, are we? That wasn't what I was implying.
But, I mean, it's the way it is. Like, it's not our choice that that's occurred, and that's how culture is, but that's the way it is. So we tend to struggle remembering foreign language names, because they're not... They don't have the same etymological construction as our names. And so it's automatically more difficult for us to, I think, remember. Because we look at it and go, I don't know what that word means, and because we don't know what it sort of means, or we can't put it to anything, we struggle to remember it.
Oh my god, are you still going? Oh, you finished at the exact moment I asked you that. Well, I've got egg on my face now. But yeah, they can breathe down here, so I think the toxic jungle was all, like, propaganda bullshit.
Yeah, as I said, the whole thing is that the jungle is trying to clear that toxic air and the polluted topsoil, and it's trying to help. It's just that obviously, in order to purify that sort of stuff, you're gonna have to, like, really go hard to try and sort that out. Because for starters, you'd have to kind of go quite deep to get rid of things. I mean, this is me mostly thinking of if you've got like a skin cancer. And there's a thing called Mohs surgery, where basically they cut away a piece of the skin, a layer at a time, until they've made sure that the skin cancer has gone.
God, that's gotta be time-consuming, given how many layers of skin we got.
Yeah, because basically what they do is, after every layer, they kind of make a mark on it, and then they send it off to like a little mini lab that they'll have in the practice to see whether it's whether that layer's got it where it is, and then they just keep going until it's done. And obviously it's time consuming, but eventually you will get rid of the skin cancer, and that's how that works. And while it's a slightly different thing to this, because what these guys are doing is more earthwormy, in that they are eating the topsoil and taking in the radiation and excreting it. At least that's how I'm seeing it working. It's that whole thing of you do have to go quite deep down to be able to get rid of the toxic stuff. So there's a lot of soil that you'll have to clear before you can kind of have everything purified. And obviously, you've got to put that non-toxic stuff that's gone through the Ohm somewhere. So this is why we've got this underground area, and it's why you've got all this clean water.
Well, I ask myself that every single day, my friend.
Although I have to say, it's kind of lying, because some stuff that's healthy for you actually does taste very good.
Such as?
Apples.
Yeah, apples are pretty based, yeah.
I have to say, though, I'm slightly annoyed that I forgot to eat my apple today.
Jesus.
I was too busy at work.
If that's the worst thing you can say about your day, I think you're doing pretty alright.
Yeah, to be fair. Like, starting a new job, obviously this is months ahead of where this is going to air, but, yeah, starting a new job in the past few days, it's going okay.
Good,
so
good.
I'm happy. Wet weather, it's all the same by the time we get to December. Different kettle of fish, but it should be all good.
Yeah, Nausica don't want to hear that shit. Either too tired, like physically, or just of bullshit, really.
And she's just like, yeah, I don't care if you're not going to use the giant warrior to destroy the Ohm. I don't even want to hear about the giant warrior, thanks. You can kind of just not deal with it, thank you very much. Just leave it be.
Is he from the same kingdom as this douchebag here?
No, so, these guys are the Tolmekians. Asbel comes from Pegite. At least I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. I don't know, we'll find out when I happen to catch a glimpse of it in the audio. Yes, that's the giant warrior that they're trying to hatch. Because basically they believe that it'll help them win the war, because I think basically Pegite and the Tolmekians are also at war with each other.
And what, the Valley of the Wind residents are just in the middle?
Sort of, yeah. They do their own thing, really. It's what tends to happen in these sorts of things in a post-apocalyptic world. You tend to get like little pockets of civilizations that keep to themselves, just deal with the land, and then... Oh, it's Pegite. Oh, okay, that's fine. That makes it slightly easier to say. And then you get others that just go to war with each other.
Yeah. Bit of shifty business going on behind the scenes. Man, this guy is so fucking smug.
I know. It's like... How smug can you be?
And the answer is none. None more smug. But he's a very entertaining character, I'll give him that.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, the Geiger visuals here. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good. I'm hearing these children speak and thinking, I recognise that child's voice.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably just because there's a lot of them that have done that child's voice in a lot of things. I mean, I'm just going to have a look now to see if there's any that I recognise from anything.
Child 1, Child 2.
You see, this is why it sounds familiar. So, one of the kids is voiced by Paul Butcher.
Uh-huh.
The reason I recognise his voice is because he voices Kanta Okagi in My Neighbor Totoro. That's why I recognise him. He's also the voice of Stanley Pekowski in Meet the Robinsons.
Stanley Pekowski? Why does that name ring a bell?
Let me see if I can find out who Stanley is.
Yeah, because we covered Meet the Robinsons in the second Disney film.
I know.
God help me if I can remember the secondary characters.
Nope, this is not going to help me whatsoever.
Ah, buggery hell.
God's sake. That's fine. He was the one that I was mostly recognising, because going, I know that voice. Why do I know that voice? You've also got Ashley Edna, who she does voices in Porco Rosso, and she's also in Monsters Inc. apparently, and a few other things as well. But those are the two, and also The Lion King 2: Simba's Pride.
I really like that movie.
Oh, and also, it's only in is the Pied Piper Charlie Brown, but she was the voice of Sally in that one.
Okay. It's okay, it's not poisonous. That's just what the Tamekians want you to think.
And then last but not least, you also have Jordan Orr, who has done voice work for Handy Manny, Bambi, and Meet the Robinsons. I'm not sure what the hell he did with Bambi, and I don't know whether that's Bambi 2 or something, because it's far too young to be doing anything in the original Bambi. And actually looking at that list of filmography, I'm not seeing anything in there that I would hugely recognise. But he's apparently also in Meet the Robinsons, so I don't know who he voiced, but yeah, those are 3 of the kids that have got Wikipedia entries.
There you go. Burn it! Don't try to understand it, just burn it!
Yes, kill the trees! No, don't kill the trees, that's daft.
Yep, gotten into the roots. You're never going to get it out now. I can't get over the fact that fucking Chester McNeil is using a mom voice for Barbara.
I know.
That's more like the Valley of the Smoke now, but yeah, they've got windmills, it'll blow it away.
Well, you'd hope so, but we'll see. See what happens.
She's a crafty one. Was there a reason she didn't have both her hands? Was that ever explained?
I don't know, probably. I wasn't paying enough attention.
I'm going to hazard a guess it was something to do with the insects. Sorry, we're talking over it about children voice actors at the time.
So, I believe that at some point soon we're going to hear Mark Hamill.
Oh, nice, nice.
At least I hope so, because it says here, Mayor of Pegite.
Oh my god.
Mark Hamill.
So we find Mark Hamill playing a character who lives in a desertous region. Just fucking Luke Skywalker again.
Well, it's a little bit different to that.
Huh. Now they might be dealing with actual poison, not just harmless insect toxins. Like, I'm talking poison stuff.
Yeah, it looks pretty nasty, if you ask me.
Like, the smoke from ruined machines would be bad enough.
I mean, to be fair, even just, like, fire in general is awful. Like, a few weeks ago, they were doing some roadworks down where I live, and because of it, I was kind of just walking to and from the tram, and it just so happened that there's a field which is used for kind of farmland a little bit, and somehow somebody set it on fire, and like it just ripped through the field and just emitted so much smoke. And so I ended up having to walk through the smoke. I went on the other side of the road, but I still had to walk through it because I had no other way of getting home. And it was like you couldn't see very far in front of your face, like, it did sort of burn your eyes a little bit, and the smell was just awful.
Do you think it was wise to walk through there before they cleared it?
There wasn't really much of a choice.
Well, you could have waited, that's a choice.
It would have taken, like, hours, I feel.
Well, they could have given you a ride home.
True, but even then, like, anybody going through it in a car, it went into the car.
Okay, fair enough. I gotta say, Shear's doing a good job in this movie. I didn't give him enough credit.
Yeah. But yeah, quickly going back to the fire and stuff. Yeah, when I got home, all my clothes smelled. Like, it was awful. Like, tried airing them out, tried attacking them with Febreze.
Did you try actually
washing them?
Okay, there
well,
we
yes,
go.
I did. It took, like, 2 or 3 days of airing and a wash and multiple things of Febreze to begin to get the smell out of there. So yeah, fire ain't nothing to mess with.
It's kind of weird hearing Mark Hamill not do either the Joker or a Fire Lord Ozo. I mean, they can, because it's been done before. Should be laughing at this, because it is a dramatic scene with just like a bunch of grown men jumping on a teenager girl to stop her from flying away is funny for some reason.
I suppose because it's ever so slightly ridiculous.
There we go. There's the penny dropping. Got really interesting all of a sudden. And
I have to say, it's definitely a better film than I remember it being.
yeah, it's very compelling.
I think when I first watched Nausicaä, I was maybe perhaps a little too young for it.
Yeah, so like the messages went over your head.
Oh no, I got the message. I think that it was just one of those things where, I don't know. I suppose its age, in a way, affected my thoughts of it. It seemed a bit too slow, and perhaps didn't quite fully get everything that was going on. Not that the message went over my head, because that's pretty clear, but just sort of the complexity of it all.
I'm going to ask you at the end of each of these movies to rank what we just watched.
Oh, for God's sake.
By the way, like A to D rank, so just like mull it over as we go through, okay?
Okay, will do. I can already tell you now. Actually, no, I was about to say there's not going to be any films that get a D, but there's probably at least one that I can think of that probably will.
Well, we're both ranking these, so we'll see what happens.
You'll probably give out more Ds than I will.
I am not the kind of person to give out Ds willy-nilly, okay? That's enough of that. I'm enjoying the brigade of old men who just bumble their way successfully through war.
I do love a good thing of the villagers fighting back using technology they don't know how to use and somehow miraculously doing incredibly well. It's brilliant.
Man, he's so fucking smug.
Well, you see, that's why he's the villain.
Yeah, I guess so. No subtlety there, eh, Miyazaki? Fucking hypocrite, talking about tolerance and shit.
Well, yes, but you see, then you've got Princess Kushana, who is obviously part of the Tolmekians. Like, she's one of the people who helped begin to invade, but then she's begun to think a bit more clearly about things and has begun to not be quite so much of a bitch, I suppose. And it makes the moral area of the film a bit more grey, because obviously you've got the Pedgites who, obviously because they don't want the Tolmekians to take over the world, are using the insects to try and kill the Tolmekians to stop them from taking over the world.
Right.
You've got the Tolmekians who seem to want to take over the world, but I think are just trying to, in their logic, protect everyone by, taking over everything. And then you've got the Valley of the Wind. And also, there we go, we've got Jodie Benson. Look, it's Ariel.
Ah, yeah, those lovely tones. I'd recognise them anywhere.
Yes.
Didn't even check to see if her hair was still red.
Well, clearly they don't care that much about these things.
Amazing restraint on not having Shia dress up in drag, by the way.
Yes, thank God. But to be fair, he's a Pedgite, so he can kind of get around these places relatively easily, even though, he got beat over the head because he tried to shoot someone.
Yeah, isn't he a traitor at this point?
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Whoa. Literally caught in the middle of a war here. One she never wanted, but one she will have to win, regardless of the outcome. Going up here was a big mistake. I regret everything.
Never go into turbulence, because unless you physically have to, because it's ridiculous and it's potentially dangerous, particularly when it's this type of turbulence, because, these machines aren't really meant to survive this sort of thing.
Oh, don't be a pussy. Let's flip off guard, live dangerously.
You know what makes me kind of laugh?
Uh-huh.
So you've got Nausicaä that has a sequence of going through a storm. I'm pretty sure that the next film on our list, which I think is Laputa, also has a sequence of a plane thing going through a storm.
Well, if a good thing works, reuse it again and again and again and again and again.
This is true.
Well, you're gonna have to, Nausicaä. There's a water wind. Just get on the fucking glider and get out there.
Yeah, get on the glider, save the world, and hopefully all will be good.
Damn, man. There's some wipeouts here. People getting wiped out.
Yeah, now's the time to make that escape, I feel.
I I gotta say, I got a bit of a chill when they were like standing by the open door, because I have a fear of heights, and that displayed height beautifully, I've gotta say.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we are very rapidly reaching the film's climactic moments.
Oh yeah, I'm hearing it in the music, which has been consistently great, by the way. 80s synths aside, even though they're good, I just thought they were a bit out of place. But you know, if they weren't a dub input, then
Pretty sure they weren't a dub.
Because yeah, obviously we have to stress. Well, at least in my regard, I haven't watched the subbed version, so.
Well, neither have I. I think literally the only films that I have watched subbed of Ghibli are The Little Norse Prince, which is pre-Ghibli and therefore not officially part of the collection. Ocean Waves. Because there is no dub of that film. Only Yesterday, because that was released in the UK as part of the Ghibli collection years ago, but it was just subbed. Very recently, however, they actually did a dub of it, and that's what we're going to commentate over later.
Okay.
And then also The Tale of Princess Kaguya, because I actually saw that film in the cinema, and that was subbed there. I will say I do always prefer watching things dubbed, because obviously I am slightly lazy and I like to just watch things and be able to understand it immediately, rather than having to read and watch at the same time, just because then I'm kind of caught between... I mean, it's the common, slightly lazy video film watchers thing of you end up focusing on the text rather than the action going on screen, but still. But it's like, they're still great films, and Lord Yupa.
I was gonna say, we're just gonna ignore this bass motherfucker just coming in and like shing 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 shing.
It's Patrick Stewart, of course he's going to be a badass in this film.
What god is she praying to, though?
I don't know.
Okay, well, thanks.
I mean, yeah, I mean, this is something that... So, I think that, in general, the dubs of the Ghibli films are excellent. They're not perfect by any means, but they are generally pretty damn good.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone say this dub is terrible, or even bad.
Yes. And I'm not necessarily talking about the dub, I'm talking about more the localization of the scripts. Because
Okay.
obviously certain elements of the scripts are going to be slightly different from the original Japanese, because culturally in the West they include things that we just wouldn't understand, or phrases that aren't idiomatic to the West. And that's totally fine. That's the whole point of localization. And thank God that they do it, because otherwise a lot of us would end up being very confused by a lot of things. That said, what can often happen in localization is that some of either the nuance or the poetry of the original scripts or some of the original subtext disappears. And when that occurs, you can end up with a slightly lesser film. For example, I think I'll probably speak more about it with Ponyo, but I think that's a film that the localization didn't necessarily do that film any favours. I think it's something that probably worked slightly better in the original Japanese than it did in the dub. But it's one of those things where you just sort of... It's a bit of give and take, I feel, anyway.
Yep. Fire hot. Fire indeed hot. Fire destroy. Bugs good. That's the lesson of the movie. You can all go home now.
Love the trees, don't like machinery. It's pretty much the way you should live your life.
Oh my god, I can't take much more of this guy.
Oh, I'm just thinking, is he the smarmiest person in Ghibli? Probably up there among the smarmiest of Ghibli.
Well, he either sounds like smug or aroused, and oftentimes a combination of the two, and it's kind of starting to get a bit unsettling. The wind is gone, and that's a very bad thing. Now it's just Nausicaä in the Valley of the... Such a fucking stupid joke, I apologise.
Especially considering, technically, it would be Nausicaä of the Valley.
Whatever. It's also quiet now, it's really eerie, actually.
I know. It's very effective at just bringing that moment of tension, because there's just so much silence. I know we're kind of talking all over it, completely ruining the experience, but just silence in a film is always just can be so effective when it's used correctly. I mean, best example that I will always point to is in Mulan, because you have A Girl Worth Fighting For, which is sung and it's big and it's funny and just really fun. And then you get to A Girl Worth Fighting, and then just suddenly silence as it flips to the destroyed village. And just that moment is just so powerful. Another powerful moment, I would argue it's a lesser shock to the system as that one, is in Frozen, when, right at the end of the film, when situations occur when Anna, obviously spoilers, but you've probably all seen / know Frozen at the point. If you don't, you don't care. Where Anna's heart gets frozen and she freezes completely, and there's just a moment of silence where Elsa's crying over Anna's frozen body, and there's just the snow frozen in the air, and there's just silence other than Elsa's cries, and that is another very effective moment of using silence.
Yeah.
And obviously in this instance, even though there's a lot of stuff going on, there's no music, and that obviously creates a lot of tension. Until now, where something is happening and the music comes back in and it gives it a bit more impact.
We must stop Dr. Eggman before he gets away with the precious bug.
I thought you were going to say you should stop Dr. Eggman before he gets away with the baby Metroid.
Well, you know, they're both stupid jokes. Let's just go with yours.
Because, I mean, effectively what this is so the baby Ohm effectively is going to be a bit of a baby Metroid in this situation.
Okay, so Nausicaä is gonna get a fucking, like, supercharged beam in a second.
Maybe not quite that, but it's very much is in keeping with that whole thing.
Fair enough, mate, fair
enough. And it would not surprise me if the baby Metroid was inspired in some way by the baby Ohm in Nausicaä here.
Does he ever use his whole mouth to speak? It's really starting to bother me now.
I don't think so.
On Dancer, on Prancer, on Armed Knights, etc. Seeing, like, armored knights with modern-day rifles and whatnot is a bit of an odd juxtaposition, but I don't dislike it.
I know, I think the reason that it works is because we are in the post-apocalypse, so you can sort of get away with it in that sense, because you're already in a world that is removed from our own, so it's allowed to be slightly more fantastical, and that's why you can end up with knights shooting guns.
Yeah. I just like the design, that's what I was getting at.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
Oh, the insects are coming! The insects are coming!
Yep, there's going to be a stampede.
Well, it's just nature taking back the land.
Yeah. And actually, something else here. Because, I just have to be more hilarious about this sort of thing and get a little bit... I'm pretty sure I'm religious.
Oh my god, get to the fucking point!
So obviously you have the word Om,
Okay.
which is like the 3 with the squiggle and the dash and the dot above it, which is the sacred sound and spiritual icon in Hindu religion, and it's a mantra in Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. Basically, it refers to Atman, the soul, the self within, and Brahman, which is ultimate reality in the entirety of the universe, truth, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's used in prayer, and effectively, in a way, it sort of means peace.
Oh, very fitting, considering what's happening now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that's exact, but from I think everything that I've come across with it, that's sort of what it stands for in a way. It's a thing of meditation. So like you tend to hear people go when they're meditating, and that's
right,
generally
okay.
that's what that is.
Very interesting.
Speaks more to infinite knowledge and the universe beyond the sun and stuff. But peace is definitely, I think, part of that. And, yeah, let's just say, she got messed up.
Well, thankfully it was only in the shoulder and, like, the shin.
Yeah, but at least she saved the baby Om.
There's that science again, putting in work. His eyes aren't red, so, oh, spoke too soon. Oh my god, it's leaking everywhere. Yeah, there's a very Samus and the baby, sort of thing going on here.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, Nausica really does suffer towards the end of this film. Like, The world is out to get her.
Could really do with a senzu being about now.
But I have to say, I like how at this point in the commentary, it's probably because we're like most of the way through now and we're tired.
I'm not tired.
I am, but then I've been up since like 7 o'clock. So
yeah, you're the actual adult who goes out to work. Yeah.
But I like that it's this moment in the film where you don't need to really say much at all.
Sometimes you have to stop talking to let the movie or whatever you're covering have some impact. You know, talk as much as you want. There's no commentary rule, obviously, but sometimes less is more.
Exactly. And particularly when it tends to be when you reach the end of the film, you've said most of what you want to say generally by that point, and it is the time to just let the movie speak for itself. And I think particularly Nausicaä, it's this moment in this climax that really does say so much.
Fuck yeah. God damn, we got us a Helm's Deep situation on our hands here.
Pretty much.
Oh my god, I just remembered what other role Tress MacNeille played. I think that's the voice she's using here. Did you ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I didn't, but obviously I know of it.
Well, there's a character in season 3 who teaches Katara a bit more about waterbending, and she turns out to be a bloodbender, and pretty intense character. That's who I'm putting in mind of right now.
Ah.
What the fuck?
Yes, here we have the giant warrior who has been prematurely hatched. And yeah, that was not a good move.
If the baby, not Metroid, ends up stopping this thing, I think we can see where Super Metroid took its inspiration from.
Well, I'm not sure that's quite going to happen, but...
Oh my god. Well, I think that's the only point in the movie where he didn't sound smug, so you know things are gonna be serious.
Pretty much, yes.
Well, yes, but, you know, I'm not done. You need to put me back in. Damn! Holy shit.
That's what the giant warrior can do.
Yes, hooray! Everyone's dying! Insects can survive a paltry little nuclear blast, it's fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's that many of them that they can do this, and yeah, that giant warrior ain't lasting much longer, I can tell you that now.
Jesus. I actually feel sorry for the thing. I mean, just look at it, it's literally dying. Well, time for hubris to get paid for. Anyone order a baby? That sounded very Metroid-like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goddamn. Wasn't actually expecting that. Oh, God, please don't get Mufasa.
He can get Mufasa, I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, you know, let him go to smug hell. That's a particular version of hell where everyone is smug. Ah, if only we'd taken a faster ship, we could have gotten here sooner.
Yes, well, as with every story, they are too late.
All they needed was a bit of human blood. That's it. They weren't bad creatures. They just wanted to taste human flesh.
No, it's not quite that.
I know. God, the atmosphere is so tense you could cut it with a knife right now.
I know. Can you believe the film's ending in about 5 minutes?
And thick too, I knew I forgot a word there. Aww. Did she change her outfit at some point? Because I could have sworn she was wearing pink.
Yeah. I have to say, I was thinking that as well. I didn't want to say anything because I thought it would ruin the moment, but I'm pretty sure they did kind of figure out what colour clothes she was wearing and decided, let's go back to the blue because that's her colour.
God, talk about fucking punished Nausica. Just before we end, does the name Nausica have any, like, mythological origins? I meant to ask that towards the start of the film. Oh my god, this is what happens to fucking Neo in the last Matrix movie. And notice how all the machines are very bug-like in there.
Yeah. So, Nausica is a character in Homer's Odyssey. She's the daughter of King Alcinous and Queen Arete of Phaeacia, or something along those lines. And her name in Greek means burner of ships.
Yeah, this is, Wachowskis, I think we're gonna need to have a word at some point.
Well, if you're going to have a word with them over that, you should have a word with all of the other anime that they borrowed from. Ghost in the Shell being a primary example.
Oh yeah. She's fine. The power of the bugs brought her back to life. Very fitting that the environment would give life again to the protector of the environment.
Exactly. And with this, that prophecy will now become true, as clothed in blue robes descending onto a golden field, to join bonds with the great earth and guide the people to the pure lands at last.
There you go. And if you look on the tapestry, it just has a picture of her wearing pink, and it's got like a red X over it. So, Richie, we're coming to the end of Nausicaä and the Valley of the Wind. Brief summation of your thoughts, and then a rank, please.
So, I would say it's a really good film. Obviously, it's very important in the Ghibli canon because it's the film that effectively started it all. And for that, I really appreciate it. And it is just a really good film. It's got a great plot. It's got great style. But part of me feels like, I don't know, there's sort of a little something missing for me. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's because I came to it later, so I wasn't as heavily attached or what have you. But I would say overall I'd probably give it a B rank. That's maybe being a bit harsh to it, but I think it's very good, but perhaps not necessarily perfect.
Oh, her dress was stained blue with her own blood. We're idiots.
You see, we weren't paying that much attention, were we?
No, well, at least you can ream us out in the comments for it. I'm going to give the film an A- rank. I enjoyed it a lot. The visuals are stunning. Nausicaä is a great character. The supporting cast were enjoyable, if not overly complex. The themes were solid. Music, fantastic. Pacing, decent. And, there was a little something missing. Like, if it was a bit spicier, it would be an A+, but for the start of the Ghiblithon, I think we've started really strong.
Oh god, yes.
And remember, folks, make sure you pay attention when doing movie commentaries, otherwise you'll get words wrong and forget that dresses get stained into a different colour. We'll see you tomorrow for Laputa, I believe. See you then.